Yo, what's up, guys? It's me, Matt McMahon here. It's been quite a long time since I've seen you. Obviously, between then and now, I've recorded a few shorts, but the last long-form video was quite a long time ago, although this one won't be as long as the previous video, at least I hope not, because I don't have as much to show. Obviously, I have this quite beautiful Filthy Frank and Pink Guy shirt. I don't know where that Filthy Frank or Pink Guy have been as of late. Heard of this guy named Joji. I don't exactly know what the hell that is. Also heard of this company called Plum Corp. Don't know what the hell that is either. But regardless, that's not what I'm talking about today. The first thing I'm talking about is my new Miu Mini Plus. It is basically, in fact, brand new because my old one died due to the USB-C port basically ripping off of the actual console itself. This was even cheaper than my previous console that I bought because I have all the goodies in my previous SD card. I just transferred it over, updated the files, and I'm good to go. And it comes with this cool case that previously wasn't on it. Isn't that wonderful? Although the 3D printed backing doesn't exactly fit on it quite yet. Maybe when it's more porked, maybe it will, who knows? But regardless, I'm very happy with it. I'm very happy with the fact that I was able to replace it so gosh darn easily. But let's get on to the main event of the evening, that being the first PS4 game. It's not actually evening, by the way, it's morning. It's about to be 12 o'clock, in fact. But first off, we have the first game, that being 𝐂𝐸. I don't know how to say it. Maybe it's 𝐂𝐸 or R, I don't know, whatever. Regardless, it is by Jeff Minter. This copy is by Limited Run. Grr, those greedy bastards. You know, it's the reuniting of Atari and Llamasoft, going all the way back to obviously Tempest 4000, which I showed in my previous video, and obviously Tempest 3000, 2000, what have you. It's supposed to be like a long-lost arcade game within the universe of Jeff Minter, I guess. It has a little, you know, goat guy on the front, which is fitting because obviously Jeff Minter is obsessed with llamas and lambs and goats and whatnot. It's basically a game where you use your bombs as little as possible to defeat enemies in sort of almost like rhythmic style, and eventually you might have to go to the below area to make sure that your lives are intact. And inside of this, we have a freaking game itself, and it's supposed to come with a pin, although the pin is up on that freaking pin board. And inside we obviously have the game itself. Below the game we have stickers and poster cards. And if I close this up, which closes pretty darn satisfactory, that's supposed to be based off some sort of arcade Jambo board slash Neo Geo AES MVS box. We have the 𝐂𝐸 game itself, and if you look inside, believe it or not, it's Manual Squad. Manual Squad freaking hype. The game itself is quite good. I played a little bit of it because I used to own it, or I guess I still own it, on Steam, although I was not able to get it working on Steam. It kept crashing, so that's why I bought this physical copy. It was a decent price, and the seller was pretty nice, all things considered. So overall, that is the first game, and that is the first recording session in the book. Hopefully this time this works, because I've been going at this for quite a while, and I just want to be done for now. My goodness gracious. Bye-bye. Just so you know, out of the 10 games that I will be showing slash already have shown, half of them are Japanese and half of them are American. Obviously the first game I showed you was indeed American, so I might as well show you the next game, that being, just so happens in alphabetical order, to be the first Japanese game, that being Batsugun Saturn Tribute Boosted. It is a port of an arcade game by Tatsujin by City Connection. I actually do like City Connection ports. Maybe I'm a bit controversial for saying that. I don't really care. I know this has enhanced soundtrack, Saturn soundtrack. It has regular ass soundtrack. It's your typical shoot 'em up of the era. It was previously only released on console for the Sega Saturn, I believe, and there's obviously the arcade version, which is what this is based off. It's a decent port. It's your typical arcade affair. Yeah, it's a pretty bare bones port. I will say this much though, I do have to use one of my controllers that does have the touchpad function working, because it requires the use of one of the two touchpad buttons, and two of my controllers don't actually have that feature, so that's fun, I guess. Anywho, this game's quite alright. I haven't played much, but don't have much to say about it, in fact, so that's pretty much all I have to say about that. Anyway, moving on to the next game. Yo, what's up? My name is Matt McMahon. You may be noticing it's darker, and you may be noticing the bed is different. You may be noticing it's a whole new, brand new freaking day. Different clothes, what have you. Anyway, let's get started with the next game. That being Deadpool for PS4 by Activision and High Moon Studios. Deadpool was initially released in 2013 for PS3, Xbox 360, and Windows. Deadpool was delisted but then re-released in 2015 for PS4 and Xbox One. The game was re-released to coincide with the Deadpool movie that came out around that time, which, by the way, 2015 was around 10 years ago, and that's when the movie came out. Jesus Christ, I feel old. The game was delisted again in 2017, and High Moon Studios' last game they worked on was this game. And now they have been designated to the Call of Duty mines alongside all the other good Activision developers. The game is short, but despite that, the physical for PS4 goes for a considerable amount used. The game itself is alright. Honestly, the humor is, it's of the time, for sure. Definitely mid-2010s humor. Deadpool is not exactly my cup of tea when it comes to humor, but the gameplay is quite alright. Would I say pick this up? Not really, because the price is insane. Maybe obtain a copy legally on the Internet Archive. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but that's what I recommend. Yeah, overall, this game it's worth it, at least if you want to play it legally. So let's move on to the next game now, or at least in the next segment. New dawn, new day, and a new recording for me. Let's get started with Final Fantasy 1 through 6 collection. It's the Pixel Remastered collection that comes in 6 individual games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 of the Final Fantasy variety. Yes, these are the closest you're going to get to the original games ported to a modern system. These came with stickers. I already used the stickers though, and I actually kind of paid a bit of a premium, and when I went on Best Buy, I noticed that the price for the physical had gone down significantly, so I probably overpaid for Final Fantasy 1 through 6 collection. But honestly, it's not that big of a deal. I didn't pay that much more than what I should have. And I also know, like, for example, Gravity Rush Remastered has gone down in price since when I paid for it. You know, not by much, but still, it would have been nice to pay what it goes for now. But, you know, I'm not a fortune teller. I can't exactly tell the future now, can I? Regardless, I would say in general, Final Fantasy 1 through 6 Remaster has a lot of interesting properties. Like, it definitely has a lot of quality of life features, especially for the early games like 1, 2, and 3, the kind of jank ones, you know, before it really gets good with 4, 5, and 6, I would say. You know, and I've really only played 1, 2, 3 so far out of the collection. I'll get to 4, 5, and 6 whenever I do. 1 is basically your basic bitch-ass RPG. Number 2 is definitely the most flawed of the series, and 3 is really when it starts to resemble an actual Final Fantasy game. The music rearrangement is very good. Obviously, Nobuo Uematsu's soundtrack holds up regardless of how you arrange it. And I would say in general, the story rewrites are okay. There's a bit of a localization sort of that is controversial to some, but overall I would say this is a decent collection of games, although I should probably play the other half before I really give my sure opinion on it. So maybe there'll be another PlayStation video basically covering all the RPGs that I actually had to play a lot more of, so who knows. Anywho, that's all for this session, and bye-bye. Hey, what's up, guys? I forgot to mention, 2 recordings ago, in between that and the last recording, I actually got another game. So there's actually 11 games we're going to be talking about today. I know, I have very little self-control. What can I say? Anyway, let's move on to the next game. This is the second of 5 Japanese games, I believe, at least. Maybe it's the third. Not right! It's The Fox Awaits Me. It is a visual novel. It's actually a visual novel with choices, I'll have you know. And it's not exactly your typical visual novel. I won't say really what it's about, because the story is obviously the only reason why you play this game. But let's just say, you know, if you're looking for your typical slice of life romance sort of maybe fantasy setting, there's a little bit more to it. I won't say exactly what. So the game is decent enough. I mean, it runs okay, you know, considering the fact it's basically just a bunch of pictures. You know, the actual UI and the way of controlling the game is just fine, you know, for being, again, a visual novel. The music's alright, you know, I actually decided to keep it on and not listen to whatever the hell music I normally play. I mean, I kind of just realized that until just now, recording, that I really can't talk about it all that much without really just spoiling what it's about. It's good. Anyway, next game, so whatever. First off, I want to say different political opinions are not a capital offense. And second of all, never forget. Anyway, with that serious note, let's move on to the first game. That is not this game. Oops. Reality. It's this game. It's Gundam Breaker 4. It is the 4th entry in the Gundam Breaker series. Play as various robot configurations based on previous Gundam characters throughout the Gundam franchise. You buy these sets, whether through buying DLC like I did, but I mainly did to play the story missions, or you buy these cute little boxes in the menu that give you parts for the characters. They come in different varieties and different rarities. There's all sorts of customization. Now, it does encourage you to play online, although I don't pay for PlayStation Plus because that shit is a fucking scam. Let's be real. I do, however, play single player, and it's quite good, quite decent. It plays like your typical arena sort of third-person shooter slash brawler, maybe hack and slash, you know, maybe arena fighter-esque, but definitely not of that caliber. It's hard to describe. You know, kind of similar to something like maybe Custom Robo, if you really want a comparison. Funny enough, I bought this game, and when I received the DLC that came in the box, literally the day I received it was the first day it was expired. Had I received it but a day earlier, I could have actually used the DLC in the box. It's a real shame. You know, I can't control that. But anyway, yeah, that is Gundam Breaker 4. And next time, I will talk about yet another game. By the way, if you're keeping track, this is the 3rd out of 5 Japanese games. I actually know how to count this time. Anyway, moving on. Next up is a game developed by Canary Games, and wait forward! It's a cinematic platformer. Yes, it's Lunark. Developed in 2023, big 2023, a cinematic platformer. Yes, a cinematic platformer came out. And this is not your baby's first cinematic platformer. I mean, maybe if you play on the pussy mode as the lower difficulty. If you play on the actual difficulty intended, basically what that means is you have one save per level, which means once you beat a level, that's when it saves. If you quit during the middle of a session like I foolishly did, you have to do that section, or that entire level I should say, all over again. This has a basic rudimentary story, but you essentially follow a man on his journey to basically explore and escape a place. Similar to Another World, which is definitely one of the big inspirations for this game. Yes, it is a wonderful, wonderful game. I can't wait to play more of it, but overall I would say pretty decent. This is the 4th out of 5 Japanese PS4 physicals, and it's one of the few Japanese physicals, like with pretty much all the ones I've shown, that are in English. And it's pretty good. Hey, I'm back. I thought I should mention a few more things about Lunark. First off, the graphics, if you will, are very good. They're very well detailed, minimalist 2D pixel art, which I know sounds kind of counterintuitive, but they're well detailed despite not having that much pixel density, if that makes any sense. They make a lot out of not a lot, which I know also sounds contradictory, but if you play the game, you know what I mean. It definitely looks like a game from the Another World era, but with a lot more fancy sort of color variation and sort of modern animation techniques that makes it a lot better. The music is also pretty decent. The sound design is also pretty okay, you know. All things considered, I mean, those aspects of the game I feel like I could have covered more when I talked about it in the last recording, but I didn't. But now I have, and now we can actually move on to the next game.
Hi, welcome to iDubbbz Complains. My name's Ian Jamha. Anyway, I'm gonna complain about the Kino Casino because they're really shitty and they're just losers and they're freaks.
Burp. Yeah, that's my fucking iDubbbz impression. Anyway, let's move on to the next game, which, believe it or not, I bought another game. Just straight up bought another game in between the last recording. And it just so happens to be the next game. It's freaking Phantom Breaker Overdrive. Or more specifically, Phantom Breaker Battlegrounds Overdrive. It includes all the DLC from the Phantom Breaker game, including one physical. I believe this version was actually eventually delisted. and it was later published again. In fact, I have it on my Steam wish list. Might take it off at this point. I don't know. Yeah, it's like basically the closest thing we had to Scott Pilgrim. You know, the Scott Pilgrim game, the beat 'em up. Which really they're making a new one, but I don't really give a shit about that, honestly. It was the closest thing we had to that until they ported Scott Pilgrim. Funny enough. Yeah, it's an anime beat 'em up, very good one by the way, with a ton of moves. By the way, like straight up, like Scott Pilgrim very much limits the amount of moves you can have. This game gives you a huge amount of moves to begin with, but in general, you only really level up things that just make the game easier to navigate. They don't just completely limit your ability just right off the gate. So it is very much, I think, better than Scott Pilgrim, even I would say. When I first bought this game, I looked inside, which by the way, it has pew 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 manual squad hype, but inside the manual was the original receipt that the person who bought it had back in 2020. Not gonna show it, don't want to dox myself, but I got it at a local game shop. But if you look inside the receipt, it's from 2020. They paid only $19.99 for this game. Spoilers, I did not pay $19.99 for this game. I wish I did, but I didn't. But that guy did, so good for him, I guess. That's awesome. But regardless, this is a fantastic freaking game. It really is. And I've beaten it before, at least I thought I beat it, until I, actually beat it on PS4. I literally did it like the day I got it. I beat the game. There's one character that's a DLC character. She has an OP as all fuck move. Basically, I think if you press X or cross and square together, it like drops, and you press down at the same time, it drops like a little gold nugget, and it just destroys all the enemies. It's OP as fuck. And I've tried other characters, and they don't really seem to have any OP as fuck moves besides this character. But this character is actually a DLC character. Normally, you wouldn't have access to the character unless you paid for it, like I have right here. Anyway, yeah, would I say pick this game up? If you can find it for cheap enough, then I say go ahead, sure. I don't know if you can see this, but it's got some, like, it looks like doggy marks. There it is. Looks like it has doggy bite marks. That's because the store that put stickers on it laid it down so thick that I just fucked it up when I was trying to take the stickers off. I should have just waited and used Goo Gone, but I thought, maybe they'd actually, take care of the stickers and make sure that the shit isn't just caked on there, but it was, which sucks. But ultimately, what can you do? And it adds to another game in my collection that was delisted in some capacity that is physically owned by me. So yeah, that's a big old fucking section about Phantom Breaker Battlegrounds Overdrive. So there you go. What is it, Emmett? What is it? What do you want? Is Timmy stuck in the well? Anyway, bye guys. Next up is Sandland. Sandland is an Akira Toriyama game. I believe it's one of the last games he ever worked on. I think it's based off some manga he might or might not have worked on. I don't fucking know. Hey, speaking of that, did you see the new Dragon Quest VII reimagining? Doesn't the art look shit without Akira Toriyama's illustrations? Like, holy shit, he totally has carried that franchise. But regardless, this game kind of reminds me of Ubisoft, if I'm not gonna lie. It's an open world sort of, exploring anime fetch quest RPG, not really RPG. You play in a tank, you play as a demon. I skipped the story because I do not care. It's just a fun, harmless slop. What can I really say? Yeah, I mean, I know this game was like super hyped when the game first came out, but slowly, the enthusiasm kind of waned for it, if I'm being real. Yeah, for sure. It's like your typical bottom of the barrel, sort of like everyone's gonna forget about this game in like 5 years if they haven't already, sort of thing. Very much this is certainly a note to leave on when it comes to Toriyama, for sure. Depending on like how much you really had to deal with it, you probably just said, okay, here's my designs, and you do you. So yeah, it's okay. I mean, I know I talked a whole freaking bunch about Phantom Breaker, but this one I really don't have that much to say. It's okay. Finally, Muttmondo has come back to YouTube to smack down the jabroni named Kid Kingpin. Kid Kingpin, know your role and shut your mouth. Put the deadlock sinks in the bag, little bro. If you smell what Muttmondo is cooking. Anyway, that rant aside here, SpongeBob, the Patrick Star game. Don't laugh at me. I actually like this game quite a bit. It is believe it or not, a goat simulator clone, but with your favorite SpongeBob characters. Yes, it is based off the Patrick Star show, which is, it's an okay property, but really it just takes place in Bikini Bottom. You know, if you look inside, this little discaroni looks like Patrick Star's belly button. Yeah, I actually got it for about 15 bucks. I had a $5 coupon from Best Buy, and I had it shipped to my house, because you know why? Because I love me some Patrick Star. I had this on my wish list unironically for a long time, pretty much ever since it came out. But God knows I was not paying $40 freaking dollars for this game, like, my God. But yeah, this is a very fun, sort of just dick around kind of game. Just have fun, just mess around with things, like destroy stuff, fix the town. It's definitely just a sort of open world sort of slop game. It's by Outright Games, which normally make the worst games, but you know what, it's okay. It's actually a good game, and for the price I paid for it, 100%. If you can get it for this price, pick it up. And on PS4, base PS4, it runs just fine despite being a late era game, you know? Pretty much all the games I mentioned today I have run just fine on PS4. And this one you think wouldn't, but really it runs just fine. It looks like any other version, really. So, like, I will say this much, it's definitely a game that you can just turn off your brain, just play around in, listen to a podcast, listen to whatever, and have fun. Patrick Star game, more like Patrick Star not lame. It's great. All right, take two. The first take with the audio was apparently fucked. First up, shout out to Danny Dimes getting the Colts to 2-0 for the first time in many years. Let's go Colts. Hopefully that doesn't age poorly. Anyway, first off, let's start off with a new game. Before you ask, yes, this is a new game. I bought another freaking game because impulse control, who needs it? Anyway, it's Scarlet's Salvation. Yes. The first take, I didn't really know the name of the game, so that's an indication that I haven't really played very much of it, but regardless, it's an FPS. It's not your typical Coomer Gooner fucking RPG by Idle Factory. Yes, or Idea Factory. Sorry, not Idle Factory. Idea Factory. It's not one of those Hyper Neptunia bullshit. It's an actual game with a story, although the story is like so goddamn generic, and I'm basically skipping it by just not listening or reading or doing really much anything to do with the story. Yes, you play as a robot girl who's lost her memory. Already it's very generic. It's probably an isekai. I don't fucking know. Anyway, basically you just go from room to room and you basically kill robots, and that's about it, basically. You're just in a sort of dungeon crawling, sort of third-person shooter kind of game. The variety is not the best, and honestly, normally it would cost a hell of a lot of money, but I got it on Amazon for relatively cheap. I mean, basically, I think somebody played it once, didn't like it, and returned it, and then it became part of the Amazon resale for use. It might or might not have an alternate case. I don't know if it has an official case. I can't tell. Maybe you can tell if you look inside. Does this look like an alternate case to you? As you can tell, it has an alternate cover on the back, although I don't like it because I don't know if you can see this, but it has like this big old thing being like, this is not the real cover, which I don't really like. But regardless, is it a game I'd recommend? It's yet to be seen, but I really need to get a recording done because it has been days since the last recording. Just so much freaking shit has gotten in the way. And guess what? We back, hoes. Let's go. Next up is a trilogy of games. In fact, it is the last of the Japanese physical games in the, I guess, quintology, if you will. Yes, it is, in fact, the last game of the Japanese variety. Although it's not made in Japan, it's Stalker Legends of the Zone Trilogy. The three games in the trilogy are Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl, Stalker Clear Sky, and Stalker Call of Pripyat. Yes, the game takes place in Ukraine. It is basically a post-apocalyptic sort of even Fallout style game, but a lot more in-depth. Play in the Ukrainian dub. I'll explain that later, but enemies say chiki-briki when you shoot at them, and basically what chiki-briki means, it's essentially like a way old phrase in most of the USSR that was essentially just like a nonsense, almost like a meme phrase. Like it has an actual spelling in Cyrillic, but it like literally means nothing. It's like the equivalent of like, there's not really a good analog in English, but the best thing I can think of is like when people say like boom shakalaka, like that doesn't mean anything, but it's like a fun meme, you know, that was popularized during basketball. But the full phrase is 𝐃𝐥𝐢𝐯𝐞, but a lot of people shorten it to 𝐃𝐥𝐢𝐯. But the point is, I think that was just like a dumb meme that the Ukrainian developers put in for the Ukrainian dub, where like enemies, when you shoot them, they just go 𝐃𝐥𝐢𝐯. Like it really doesn't mean a whole lot. Like it's just a nonsense phrase. I think it's just an inside joke between the developers. Going back to the Ukrainian dub, I mean, the reason why, you know, I chose the Ukrainian dub, or I guess the original Ukrainian language, because I'm a purist. The game takes place, for one, in Ukraine and is made by Ukrainians, like I mentioned. Therefore, you know, I want to play the game with the authentic Ukrainian voiceover. And thankfully, you know, vast majority of characters don't even really have their mouths out. They usually have them covered. So there really isn't any lip syncing. Now, I'm the same way with Japanese games, but for example, like Stellar Blade, I played the demo on Steam. I played the Korean dub for that one, the original Korean version, although that one did have mouth movement, so obviously I wanted to match up with what they're saying. The game has compatibility with motion controls, believe it or not. It has a lot of cool options in general. It is a very considerate port for PS4 in general. It has a lot of cool options that I'm very fond of. The only way to play this, however, on console, at least in modern consoles, I don't know about PS3 and whatnot, the only way to play it on Switch and PS4 is the Japanese copy of the game. There is no other physical in general of this game. As far as I know, I looked it up. I couldn't find anything besides the Japanese copy. But thankfully, this has all the languages and all the, you know, different options from each language just in this standard physical. I mean, you can buy it digitally on any storefront, but if you want to play it physically, you have to buy the Japanese copy. And it's okay price-wise, but, you know, it is not exactly the cheapest. Let's keep that in mind. So basically, you know, the game is very in-depth. The game is obviously very ahead of its time. You know, I don't really think it's really been matched when it comes to the quality and attention to detail, especially for such a small team. Not even Stalker 2. Stalker 2 I've heard is just kind of okay or mixed. But I don't have a PS5 or any console to even play it, so, or I obviously have a PC, but I don't even think it's powerful enough to even run Stalker 2. So basically I could play it, but I'm gonna stick to the original and the original 3 versions. Yeah, I mean, those games are freaking great, dude. They're like, it's like an all-time classic. And if you notice, one last thing, it's 𝐂𝐸-Z, which is a super rare rating in Japan. Like, not very many games get 𝐂𝐸-Z. I think I only own like one other game in my collection with a 𝐂𝐸-Z. I'm pretty sure that's Katana Kami for the Switch, and this is like the only other game I could think of that has a 𝐂𝐸-Z, and 𝐂𝐸-Z means like only people that are 18 can play the game. It's basically what it means. And all 3 of the games in the collection are 𝐂𝐸-Z. You know, obviously because of the violence, because Japan is like the opposite of the West, whereas America tends to, you know, balk more at nudity, you know, and while Japan obviously has, you know, if there is like, if it's a porn game, obviously it's going to be 18, but I mean, they tend to give more 18 ratings to violent games than they do even porn games, really, if you really look into it. You know, they do not like that kind of violence that is in this game. So, I mean, whereas opposed to America, we tend to give violence more of a pass in our ratings, you know, so there is that to consider. Like, I can't think of any adults-only games besides like Manhunt, or I'm sure Hatred initially got adults only. That was like the only stuff I can think of that wasn't because it was just flat out a porn game. With all that said, I know I talked for a long time. That is the Stalker Legends of the Zone trilogy, and I do recommend picking it up. It is an excellent console port. I will see you in the final game of the video. Hey, what's up, guys? I'm back for the last recording of the video. Let's finish it off with Wipeout Omega Collection. This is a 3-game collection, HDified. One of the games being the already named Wipeout HD from the PS3 in 2008, and its expansion, the Wipeout HD Fury expansion that came out in 2009. It also has Wipeout 2048 for the PS Vita that came out in 2012 on it. It is a collection that came out in 2017. It's really the last real release from the series. The series itself kind of ended off on a whimper. I mean, it had like a 2D entry, and then it had a mobile game that's basically like a racing sim. It's kind of weird. It's called like Rush, and then it was called something else. I don't remember what it was renamed to. It has a PSVR mode that I will never play. I imagine it doesn't have PSVR 2 capability, considering most PS4 games did not get the PSVR 2 treatment. Sony's been super lacking on that. Speaking of VR ecosystems, did you know that the Oculus Quest 2 is being sunsetted into 2026 and all future updates will stop 2027, despite the fact the user base is 20 plus million? They want people to go to the Oculus 3, and I know it's technically called the Meta Quest 3, but I refuse to call it that. But yeah, they want you to go to the Oculus Quest 3, but no one's going to do that. So basically they're wiping out a whole big ass user base and essentially killing it off. That's fun. If you want to use it in the future, you'll have to legally modify it or use it on PC as just a standard VR headset. This came with DLC that expired 5 freaking years ago. Basically, it came with like 3
avatars
and like 1 ship. This whole collection basically has like the Tyron ship series, which is essentially the only new addition to the games itself. It's a pretty bare bones collection, but considering, you know, PS Vita nobody bought and PS3 is, you know, a bit harder to come by these days, this is definitely the best way to play these 3 games in the series. Overall, I would say pick this up if you are a fan of Wipeout, considering you really can't get another Wipeout experience this modern anywhere else. I mean, you can kind of with the Fast series on like Switch 2 and then Switch and some Wii U and whatnot. Those games are pretty good and the closest I would say to Wipeout. Wipeout is definitely a less arcadey version of F-Zero. There hasn't been an F-Zero game in like freaking ages, by the way, besides obviously the F-Zero Battle Royale. This is definitely the closest you get to that hyper-futuristic future sim racing kind of experience. You know, obviously you have weapons and whatnot, which I don't think Fast has. Yeah, and there's also Redout and Redout 2. I think those are decent replacements. Anti-Gravity is another game that kind of emulates Wipeout. It's okay. You know, it's definitely more sort of like polish over actual substance. There's plenty of games that imitate it, but there's really nothing quite like an actual Wipeout game. I'll tell you that much. These are definitely the last of an era, in my opinion. I don't think they're ever going to go back to Wipeout ever again, considering basically Sony's so busy up their own ass making all these cinematic bullshit games. They're never going to be making something like Wipeout. Pretty much ever. We're lucky we even got this. Let's be real. It's probably because the PS4 really had no games at the time, so they were just re-releasing shit. But regardless, peace.